Happy New Comic Book Day, geeks, and welcome to issue 65 of the Script Heroes podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Joseph, and today we're going to be talking about Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, issue 5, Justice League Unlimited, issue 4, Ultimate Spider-Man, issue 14, Jumpscare, issue 1, Murder Kingdom, issue 4, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issue 7.
Hit subscribe to add our show to your pull list. Now let's jump into Batman.
Batman, The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, issue 5. This book is written by Jeff Loeb of Batman The Long Halloween, Superman/Batman, and Hulk. And the artist on this issue is Bill Sekaiewicz of Moon Knight, Detective Comics, and New Mutants. The colorist is Dave Stewart, and the letterer is Richard Starkings. Katie, I think this is fairly characterized as a series that we've been very up and down on, depending on the given issue. So how does issue 5 rate for you?
It's a downbeat for me personally. Not to unbury the lead or anything, but I feel like this is one of those issues where it feels really muddled as it tries to do that like month to month thing. It was odd because I don't think we got one for January. Did we? I don't think we did.
That's a good question. I think you're right, weirdly.
Because so in this one they also kind of like smushed together New Year and Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And it on a book that already feels like with the real world time span happening that it's not doing a great job of like narratively engaging with that. Smushing now 2 months into one book was extra rough. I think this is also one where like a lot kind of like happens as reveal as opposed to like actually happening. Like we have Batman kind of saying that he knows things without having like the actual discovery of that or like an organic way of engaging with that come up. It feels like this one was just trying to hit a laundry list of things to get out of the way as opposed to being like a really engaging issue in and of itself. You know, it feels like it's working just really mechanically for moving the story along, which is a bummer because it's an issue that really focuses for, a second on Scarecrow, who I love to focus on. Like, focusing on fear gas stuff, super duper fun. I liked the engagement of, like, Batman dealing with his perception of Robin in the fear gas, this, like, responsibility he feels for him. But I feel like it just wasn't given a lot of narrative weight because it wasn't, like, the point of this issue. It felt like there wasn't really a good focus here, and that really made it suffer in a book that I already feel like has a weird identity happening with it.
Yeah, I agree with you pretty across the board there. It was a weirdly like meandering issue, or like an issue that just like was jumping around but also covering a lot of ground and go. It was a hard one to pin down. This is another issue where I'm gonna say that I'm a little put off by just how stylistically different the art is. Like it's just another issue of like, here's a super distinctive art style that isn't in line with what we've been doing. And it's like, for a book like this, it's weird to have like the super big jumps to different stylistic, art things. I will say, I did quite like the Jim Gordon stuff in this issue.
See, I was gonna say, I wish that the Jim Gordon stuff was like the whole issue. If we got like last time we got an issue that was really focused on Robin, if this time we got an issue that was really focused on Jim Gordon, I think one, that would make a lot of sense with Valentine's Day being the holiday they're focused on, and two, would give the issue a sense of like identity and purpose.
I fully agree with you, but I didn't want to put out. I thought those scenes, the caption dialogue around was really, really well done. They felt very impactful. Like you, I wish it was the full issue. I wish we at least had that as like our, like through line throughout the issue to like feel like we were following something. But yeah, no, I agree with you pretty much across the board. It was a little bit of a weird issue.
But that's pretty much all I have to say. Are you ready to get talk about Justice League Unlimited?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Justice League Unlimited number 4. The writer here is Mark Waid of JLA, World's Finest, and Shazam. The artist is Dan Mora of Power Rangers, World's Finest, and Shazam. The colorist is Tamara Bonvillian, and the letterer is Ariana Mayer. Jade, Justice League Unlimited has been a rough one for us so far.
Yeah.
How do you feel issue 4 has held up?
So I'm gonna start with the positive because that's a good place to start.
Dan
It
Moore in
is
the
a much
art?
more focused issue
It
than
is.
the
It
other two.
is.
Like we at least have one plot line and
Mhm.
like one thing in this issue, which honestly is a great step in the right direction, and it
Yeah.
made it a lot more ingestible than I think the
Mhm.
the first three issues of the series
Agreed.
were. That being said, well, I'll also throw out, as usual, Dan Moore is just killing it, and getting to
God
see him
damn
draw
Mora.
like the whole DC universe is awesome. There's a really epic moment he gets to draw on this issue that I don't want to spoil, but it is
It's
sick.
so beautiful.
Oh yeah. But to move to the stuff that's still rough is despite the fact that we're more focused plot wise in this issue, we're still not focused character wise, and
Yeah.
like characters don't really get to do anything all that interesting. And every single issue seems to introduce a new character who gets a little something to do, but then
Mhm.
you just feel like they're not going to be followed up on. And it
Because
feels
they're
like in
not.
this issue that's extra the case,
Mhm.
and so it just feels like wasted space when you're like, why are we not developing like the team? Like we made this big deal in the very first issue about Star Sapphire like being the rookie on the team, and she's just not here. And I'm like,
Yeah. And
why? Like
hasn't been here.
I thought that was going to be one of the main overarching arcs we
Right?
got was going to be not as a Green Lantern fan. I was super excited for that, and it's just not here. And I'm wondering if you wanted a character that you weren't going to touch, why did you not just actually stick a Green Lantern on the team? Like, what? Why are we doing
Yeah.
that? And then we get, we finally get to follow up on the Martian Manhunter plotline from issue 2, which we didn't touch in the last issue because we're jumping all the way around, and it just felt like we jumped too far in this issue for a
Yeah.
plotline that was actually really intriguing when it started. So I definitely think this issue is better, at least better than 2 and 3.
Mhm.
One had some nice stuff as well. Better than 2 and 3 in my opinion, but I still just need something more to get me to buy into the characters and the story being told.
Yeah, I agree with you on pretty much all accounts here. I mean it's more focused, and I feel like the bummer is in this one we actually got a story that I really liked, a characterization that I really liked. I feel like if through this book we were following like Mr. Terrific as he tries to like coordinate the league or something, that would be a really good kind of central, you know, post for the book to be working off of. And then you could have the fun excitement of him like deploying people. You could get to watch those missions happen and have that kind of episodic mission. But then you would have Mr. Terrific and then whatever's going on with Inferno and not Heatwave, Airwave, uh, going on at the Watchtower
That also hasn't done
itself.
anything since issue 1.
Truly nothing. Truly nothing. Like I think in the all we've seen him do is like steal snacks, and
Like
it
stalk around the tower. Like we get like a panel of him like being somewhere, and then like people coming out and be like, oh,
yeah, exactly. Like it's ridiculous, and it's such a problem of just not having focus in the
yeah,
book. And even with the plot focus that happened, like we saw the resolution of the Amazon rainforest fire. Like this is the issue where this is supposed to resolve. It still felt like there were too many things going on in that.
yeah,
Like it didn't feel like pieces came together. It felt like we were still watching the things that didn't work in the previous issues happen while then seeing what worked happen on top of that. And I'm like, I feel like I didn't need to see them continue to try to like destroy the obelisks. I didn't really need
yeah,
to see them doing the evacuation, even though the panel of Superman and the Flash split screen with like the one victim. Oh, so good. Dan Mora truly can do no wrong. Um, so like, but the thing is that these aren't like beautiful, like bombastic moments or anything. It's just like a cool quarter of a page. Whereas like I would get it if it was like a massive action shot of Diana destroying an obelisk. Like that would be one thing. But it feels like there's just all of these really cool pieces of art just kind of stitched together to be the background for the story that's happening as opposed to being a lot of that forward momentum in the story itself, which is a bummer because
yeah.
I love Dan Mora art so much, but I would like to see it used in a more progressive way, you know?
Yeah, I fully agree. It's what like you said, like we finally get the resolution of plot here, and it should do more. But because we're kind of jumping around and not following anything, nothing. When we get a payoff, it doesn't really feel great,
Mm-hmm.
compared to if we actually chose something or a couple of things to focus in on. Um, Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is.
But
It is. But if you were to create your own Justice League Unlimited lineup, what teams would you want to see in there? Who do you want to see on the expanded but not unexhaustive roster of the Justice League Unlimited? Let us know
let us
in the
know.
comments.
Spider-Man 14. The writer of this series is Jonathan Hickman of Avengers, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. The artist is Marco Cicchetto of Daredevil, Spider-Man, and The Punisher. The colorist is Matt Wilson, and the letterer is Corey Petit. I feel like I need to give the big disclaimer to follow up our discussion from last time that we have age confirmation on both of
Yes, we
the
do. We
Black Cat
do.
and New Spider-Man. They're 15 and
And
16.
16. So
Um,
essentially, you were right that they are like aging down Black Cat for this alternate universe so that she can kind of have her Black Cat thing with Peter's son instead of with Peter, with Richard
I believe so. I believe that's correct. But
Richard, yeah.
yes, Richard. Um, yeah.
We also,
Tell,
as we saw set up last month, the way that Hickman was kind of cheesing the system on this Craven duology was by having one of them set on the very last day of January and the other set on like the first day of February. So that cheesing, respected. I respect that he's like, I have to do it in this, real time format. Here's what I will do for like this very special duology because it's not normally like this. Um, that being said, I feel like we got a lot more cool build up than we did cool payoff with Craven. I was so hype on issue 13, and then playing the second Spider-Man game, where Craven is also one of the main characters. I was like, you know what I need to do? I drove to a Barnes and Noble and bought Craven's Last Hunt because I was like, I need to read this, and like it was weird and cool. And I read this one and I was like, ugh. I wish we got like a little more of that Craven morsel going on. Like I think part of the thing with this specific duo of issues is that Pete is in such a weird headspace with it because like his family is in danger, so like he is fully like no quips, no jokes, which fair. Your family is in danger. That is bad, very bad. Um, but I also feel like he you don't want your main character to be just dead silent, you know? Like there's a time and place for that. When he's attempting to evade capture in a jungle, I feel like it's not really the place that I want that. Like I want him to be talking through what he's doing for me, how he's surviving and stuff. And I think that Harry actually was really great in this issue. He feels so like true to his character where he doesn't have his suit here. He like like an absolute dweeb. I love him dearly. Rolls his ankle in the first like 5 pages and is kind of like a little bit extra useless after that, but is still like, very much like we need to fucking kill Craven. Let's do our little engineering thing. So I really loved Harry in this. I just feel like Pete didn't have his spark, which I understand why in terms of his emotional state, but I'm a little disappointed in terms of like actually reading the pages. And Craven didn't get to do as much hunting as I would have liked. Like I don't think there was a lot of that tension that we got in that
yeah,
build up.
I think unfortunately, like Hickman backed himself into a corner with the Craven situation because he had Harry and Peter like in this, especially with Harry there and Harry not having any
Yeah,
powers. Like he had this situation of like we had to do the more Craven like sniper from afar, avoiding him instead of actually like getting to interact with him. Because
yeah,
if you interact with him, immediately like he wins. Like you're
yeah,
basically running away from him. So I agree with you that I think that was unfortunate. I feel like my thing is like I feel like the middle of this issue was kind of the rough bit. I really
yeah.
like a lot of the ending stuff that happens in this issue that I
Yes,
don't want to
the
spoil.
ending loved.
Ooh.
Like once they are like mano a mano, oof.
Yeah. Um yeah, the other thing I want to hit on because like it's kind of a small thing, but also kind of not a small thing. I don't love the way that Hickman wrote Black Cat and Richard in this. It felt
Yeah.
like they were like 7 years younger than their
Oh,
ages. I
I
was
was
like,
gonna say that they felt like they were like 40 years old. Like they were talking through their emotions
Talking about half
very
ages, like
like,
6-year-olds. They would be like, I'm like 15 and a half. And she
but then
was
they
like,
would
you're
flip
right.
like the
You
reason that I'm
are.
acting this way is because I like feel a sense of abandonment. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like a
That's fair.
6 year old who went to therapy.
I just thought the like harping on, because it was brought back too, and like of the like 15 and a half,
Yeah.
16 and a half. I was like, that's like an 8-year-old thing. That's not a
Yeah.
thing high schoolers say. Like, I have
Agreed.
yet to meet a high schooler that's like, I'm 15 and a half, actually. Um,
Like
so
I
small
feel
thing. I
like
thought
part
their
of the
writing was a
problem
little
with
bit rough. I
that,
liked their
yeah.
writing at the end of the last issue much
Mm-hmm.
better.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, if weirdly it felt like they were more trying to set up the romance here, but I felt it felt better at the end of the last issue when they were
Right?
more like this just felt a little forced, where they just like immediately went like, oh, we're gonna like just like tell each other
Right? Like
everything
Richard
immediately.
takes his mask off and is like,
Yeah,
buddy.
like, dude, what? And Black Cat was even worse. Black Cat was like, I'm gonna tell you my full story.
Which is why she felt like a 40-year-old to me.
That's
Because
fair.
it's like, okay, girl, we don't need like your helicopter view of your own situation.
No,
Like,
no, that's
act
super
like
fair.
a
I
grumpy
put that more
teenager.
on just it being way too exposition-y.
That's fair.
Um, and then I was just like, but when they actually were like trying to give personality dialogue, it felt very child. And I was like, these are high schoolers, not elementary schoolers. Small thing that we didn't get a lot, because I am still very interested in that dynamic,
Hmm.
because I think, especially depending on what they do with Richard moving forward, I'm very
Yeah.
excited for where that potentially goes. And I think that's like the big thing of this issue, is despite the fact that like I think it stumbled more than a decent amount of the Ultimate Spider-Man issues do in the middle.
Hmm.
I think it did a lot really good for the series moving forward. Like I
Agreed.
think it's
Agreed.
set up and put things in really good places for us to move
And
forward.
phenomenal, phenomenal ender.
Oh my
So good.
god.
Or I guess pre-ender, not like the ender, but like,
Ender
the
though was good too.
amazing climax. I also like the ender. Are you ready for this? I need you to hold your pearls. I'm about to criticize Marco Cicchetto's art.
Oh my, Katie's never done
This
this before
I
in history.
truly never have. I feel like there were a number of instances in this issue where there was like really kind of screamed dialogue or like really incensed emotional dialogue, and we got very little face emotion from our dear boys. Um,
Yeah, I was looking for one, but the one I found, he was also screaming in panel. I'm trying to find one here.
because it's like it's so beautiful. Like he truly is so insanely talented. Um, maybe I won't find one to pull up like right as we're recording here,
It's hard to
but
do when you're. Yeah.
because it's also tough to be like,
There
okay,
you
is
go.
this a neutral face? Because it's
There's a reused neutral face, despite the fact that he
yeah,
yells in the second panel.
yeah, and there was I think one other one that's a little too deep in the book to pull up, but it's rough because it's like, oh, I wish that we had that like really visceral emotion drawn on the page because it felt a little like unharmonious, discordant with the lettering and the dialogue.
It's a time thing, because especially in that one, it was literally a reused panel.
Hmm.
Um, what if he's a little pressed for time? Who
He
knows?
might be. We like the alternate artist. Let him do an issue. It's fine.
Remember, he's not allowed to do the big actiony
Oh, you're right. You're right. He has to be the
issues.
well. He. I would like to point out he's not dressed as Spider-Man in this, which was like our previous thing. It was like
Yeah,
when
yeah,
he's
that's
in
why
the
I changed it
Spider-Man
to
suit.
big
It's
actiony,
Chichetto.
because it was usually if he dresses up as Spider-Man. Though I will point out, Richard does dress up as Spider-Man in this issue,
There you
so
go.
maybe
There you go.
still counts.
That counts. That counts. But how did you feel about Craven's hunt here? Were you on the
Or
edge of your
worse than the
seat?
OG.
That's the good thing. It's an homage. So do you feel like it was properly homaged? Let us know down below.
We're gonna be jumping over to
Jump scare.
Jumpscare.
All right, Jumpscare is a new #1 from Dark Horse coming at us from writer Cullen Bunn of Magneto, The Sixth Gun, and Harrow County. The artist is Danny Luckert of Regression, The Red Mother, and The Space Between, and the letter is Jim Campbell. Now, first off, Jay, this is a tie-in to a larger universe, the Beyond Mortals universe, which
That
you
is
read the
correct.
first volume of. I have not.
Yes, I
So
read the
coming from
first.
your perspective,
Yeah.
how was Jumpscare #1?
Yeah, it's interesting because I thought, because just to give people more context, I had my copy of Beyond Mortal from a little bit now, but I had not read it. And then once we decided we were doing this for the pod, I decided to read it before, we read this. So I had originally going in expected Jumpscare to be one of the like superheroes that was on
Mm-hmm.
the they're called the something Alliance. I can't remember now.
Oh, it's
Um,
something real lofty.
yeah. But Jumpscare actually wasn't a part of that team, so it wasn't as connected in as I thought. But Jumpscare does make mention to a bunch of the like main plot stuff of
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Mortal, so I'm interested to hear in a little bit how that worked for you,
Yeah.
if it was a little weird. I like her powers literally are given. She gets her powers during like the big, climax of the original book, which is a cool thing. We don't see her get her powers there, but we
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that it happens during that event. So that was pretty cool. I feel like the immediate thing is just how freaking cool a concept and power set she is. In
Mm-hmm.
general, this is such a good
What is
color.
the concept?
Yeah. I was gonna lead into it with the like concept of the universe first, and then so in general, I like this concept for a universe a lot for Cullen Bunn because it's like these eldritch horrors. He's a horror
Mm-hmm.
guy mixed with superheroes, obviously. He's a superhero writer as well,
Yeah.
so it's a very cool Cullen Bunn world. And then this hero, especially, who is a hero tied to horror movies in the sense that she she can teleport only if people aren't looking where she
So
appears.
funny.
Love that. She has your normal enhanced like physique and stuff, and then she can
Speed and strength.
yeah, she can conjure weapons from any horror movie she has ever watched, which is such a cool power set, and I love it so
Here's the
much.
thing. Let me tell you. I was worried about that power set at first. I thought it was going to be like a little too cheesy,
Mm.
almost. Like I was a little concerned it was going to be like a little edgy. But I feel like they lean into the like delight of gore because they
Yeah.
really focus on like slasher movies specifically.
Oh
And
yeah.
whereas
It's
I think
full
that could
slasher
have
mode.
been like really edgy or dumb, they're like, no, this is from like a movie, like Don't Cry on the Clown's Grave or something. It's like, okay, they're leaning into like
I
the
spit
B
on the
movie
evil
side of it.
clown's garden, and that is actually the one that I put
Yes,
to
yeah.
number two. I believe she sees number seven at one point in this, and that she uses a weapon from number two, which is very
But
very funny.
it is very funny, and I think that it was such a good pull to treat the horror movies not very seriously. Like
Yeah,
the horror movies, this is in no way like a horror book. It's gory. Like it's got a lot of viscera in it,
yeah,
but they're
yeah,
not trying to make it like spooky. Her vibe is not spooky. It's fun and it's
yeah.
actiony and like bombastic.
Fully agree. It's a very fun issue. It's a very good mix too. I feel like of like actual origin and then like
Hmm.
action and plot progression and then set up for what it seems the plot of the series is going to be at the very end of the issue. I like a lot of the stuff that gets started in this issue. I like jump scares, like family backstory that we get, all that. Like
Hmm.
there's a lot of just cool stuff that makes her primed to be a very interesting character. And it's also it's got a good mix of humor in there, mostly based on
Oh
like
yeah.
the absurdity of what she is, and the like
Hmm.
little thought that she puts into superheroing, and yet she's everybody's favorite
Yeah.
superhero, which is
Really fun.
terrifying. I think
Hey, she's a
makes me
favorite
lose
with
faith
like the
in
teen
humanity.
demographic, so it's okay. Um, the teens are crazy. It's fine. But yeah, I didn't read Beyond Mortal before reading this, and it was still like super duper approachable, which I loved. She does a lot of the exposition for Beyond Mortal in like a really matter of fact way that
Yeah,
makes it feel really snappy and clean. Like I think you could read this without Beyond Mortals existing, and like it would just be like an even funnier thing. It's like, oh, she's talking about these like cataclysmic events without like us worrying about them at all. Like I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
it works outside of the context of being Mortal being a series as well. with the really clean way that she exposits them. And the other thing that I was really worried about with this character is I thought that she might be insufferable because
Yeah.
she's one of those character types
GT.
where like, yeah, where she could be a little like too self-aware for her own good or a little
Yeah.
too edgy for her own good, but I think Cullen Bunn does an amazing job of riding that line and keeping her as like a really sympathetic and really funny and really like charming character instead of
Yeah.
being like annoying, which I was so worried. There were in the family flashback, which they did a really good job with, she was like almost there and I was like, oh no, this character might end up insufferable, and then she wasn't, and I was so pleased. And I think that with where the book is
Yeah.
going, they're going to be doing a really good job of keeping on that line instead of falling into the
I
insufferable
agree. I
side.
think even in the first issue, they did a good amount of like, not like full blown comeuppance, but like just moments of
Yeah.
her going like, "Oh, yeah, no, I was wrong. That's a little awkward,"
Mm-hmm.
and like it's just a nice amount of like leveling out to be like, "No, no, no, you're not gonna be annoyed with this character by the
Yeah.
end of this
Yeah.
issue."
So yeah, overall they did a really, really great job with that. But if you could have the weapons of any horror movie figure, which one would you want to be able to summon, possibly out of your own blood, aesthetically? Uh, I think I would go with Freddy Krueger's claw.
I was
That's
thinking about
like,
that, but I feel like that's not actually like all that effective of a weapon if you're
no,
not
but
like
it's fun. Like,
it's fun.
what do
Well, I
I
was
need
thinking
a
about, I was like,
weapon for? I
I,
don't.
I kind of started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, I guess horror movie films don't really have like super great weapons. It's more of like they are like. I was like, my God, just a kitchen knife, like that ain't doing. The one has a
Maybe a kitchen
chainsaw,
knife
right?
that'll go
The
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 Leatherface
dude,
has a
yeah,
chainsaw.
Leatherface. Thank
Yeah,
you. I was like the dude with the yeah. I'll
yeah.
probably just go with Leatherface's chainsaw
The
because at
thing
least like
is,
that's fairly effective.
I don't need a murder weapon personally, but
Yeah,
like if I could just summon a box cutter at any given time, that's handy.
Katie's thinking practically.
I'm thinking practically. But anyway, we're gonna move on to even more fun gore with Murder Kingdom
Cool.
#4.
Murder Kingdom issue 4. This is coming at us from writer Fred Van Lente of Marvel Zombies, Amazing Spider-Man, and Iron Man. The artist is Chris Panda of ROM, First Strike, Micronauts, and Transformers, and the letterer is Becca Carey. We were very happy with the progress made in issue 3
Yes.
as we really started to get things rolling. How do you feel issue 4 slots into this series?
I really liked this issue. I was really pleased with this issue. It's one where you do get a lot of like plot movement as well, which is great, because that was something that was one of my big concerns, and I, if I remember rightly, yours as well in the first few things, where it's like, okay, we're kind of stalling around a little bit. But yeah, I think that this one again has great plot progression. I think that they do a really good job with both of the big kills in this one. I think both of those were like really good, like shocking moments. And in the first one that we see, you get a really good like kind of scream-esque thing where like she's watching on the monitor and like cannot,
Yeah,
communicate with the person, which I think is a really great like tense way to do kills. It's super fun. And then the second one, I will say nothing about because it's like deep in there. But I really liked the like final image of that one. Is all I will say on that. I think that that visual on the last
I
bit of it
agree.
was
It was good.
A plus, great. We also get a little bit more intrigue into the world of like Murder Kingdom itself, which is exciting. I'm hype with the development we have. I think that one might be a little deep in
Yeah,
as well. Yeah,
if it's what I think you're gonna
I think
talk
so too.
about, I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah, yeah.
pretty neat. Yeah.
But so we get really good reveals in this one, which is really
Yes,
exciting, leading into
absolutely.
what I believe is going to be the last issue.
Yeah, issue 5 is
Um,
at least the end of this
Volume 1. Yeah.
miniseries. Who knows if we're
Yeah, who
who
knows
knows?
where it'll go from there. The
Yeah,
one gripe that I do have with the series is as we've gone on, I feel like I haven't really gotten a good sense of this all being the same day. Like, I think in this issue in particular, they did a good job of making it feel like kind of everything was happening at once. Like, they have the park closing down, and it did feel like it was on that tighter timeline. But with the other ones, I feel like the fact that murders were happening, and like, I know that they were covering them up. Like that was an important part of it, is that they were trying to cover them
No,
up.
I think
But
though I get what
yeah.
you're saying. I agree to some extent. Especially like it's the mix of the monthly format and then like people
Mhm.
die. It just
And like they
it
go to the locker room a few times. So it's like,
yeah.
okay, like what all is going on here?
Yeah, they come out and like I think they say this will be her third shift, so like they're
Yeah.
trying to like charge it up, but it's like why not go home at that point? Like we get reasoning, but it's like I agree with you. I think it's
Yeah, but
the
I think in
timeline
this
thing
one
is
they did a
cool.
good job with making it feel like you're on that kind of like 1 day timeline of this book. So I think it really picked up in this one, but it made me miss it in the previous ones even more. How did you feel about Murder Kingdom?
I thought I liked this issue overall a lot. It had it's similar to the last issue. It had a really good like ramping of tension throughout and
Mhm.
a good build up. And the end, like basically the last like 8 pages of this issue are just really really great
Yeah,
as
yeah,
things
yeah.
start coming together and start building, and you get new elements. Kind of exactly what you want when you start to reach the end of a mystery. It's like
Hmm.
those slight diversions, the new information, like it's all good stuff there. I think the start of this issue was a little slow for me. We get Tanith like essentially in a jail cell, and like it just makes it a very like slow,
Yeah.
talky
I think the
opening.
tricky part with that, if I can interject, is
Yeah,
that it's not just that we get Tanith in a jail cell. It's that we get her being put into the jail cell, we get her in the jail cell, and then we get her taken out of it. It's like, okay, I
yeah.
feel like we could have started closer to the end here.
I agree with you. It's a very slow opening, which isn't the worst thing in the world when it does like progressively
Hmm.
get faster and it kind of helps that tone. But it's a little bit of a I think like you said, I think they took too many beats for
Yeah,
that
yeah.
beginning bit. But that's really my only gripe with this issue. Overall, I thought this was a very very strong issue of
Hmm.
Murder Kingdom, and it makes me very excited for the final issue. My other thing though
Yes.
is that I thought they had set up something in the last issue, and I went back and it definitely did feel like that was the setup, and like it is paid off here, but Tanith's like emotion around it didn't make sense to me. Like she has a character that she seems in the last issue to think is the killer, and then when
Uh
it is
huh.
supposed to be revealed that that is potentially the killer here, she says like she doesn't think that could be the killer, and I was like, but the like moment in the last issue was you thinking that was the killer. So I don't understand why her emotion kind of reversed in this issue.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
I
I'm
do like that we
trying
got
to
the
remember
payoff to
back,
that,
but
but it
mhm.
was it was it was a weird emotional payoff, and I don't want to spoil too much.
Yes,
But
yeah, for sure.
that was my other slight stumble. But overall, very very good issue in my
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely. But are we ready to head to our final issue for uh for the day with
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 7. This is coming to us from Jason Aaron of Thor, The Avengers, and Wolverine. The artist is Juan Ferreira of Batman and Robin and Green Arrow, and the letter is Sean Lee. Now, Jay, you're not very familiar with the Turtles, so I know this is a bit of a wild jump in
Leo's in a
point for
trench
you.
coat. It was really cool. A
All right,
plus,
and
10
that's
out of
it for
10.
our
Leo was in a
review of
trench coat.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 7. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Leo was Do you need? If I need to do more to sell you on a Turtles book than tell you that Leo's in a trench coat, I don't know. I don't think you're having enough fun with comic books.
Oh my goodness, what a fucking dream. So last we saw the Turtles, they were finally reunited in New York City and we're getting the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah,
And we're kind of directly in the aftermath of that here. And, directly in the action of that, frankly.
yeah. This is the first like, despite the fact that they came together in the last issue, feels like it's the first like because it is the first issue of the new arc. It feels like it's the first issue that's
Hmm.
like really moving forward instead of like
Yeah.
picking apart the pieces and getting to where Jason Aaron wanted the Turtles to be, which it
Hmm.
feels like was very much what the last arc was. Because Jason Aaron very nicely did not want to disrespect everything that had happened
Yeah.
before and all those things. So he took the conscious effort to say, how do I get these characters where I want them?
Hmm.
Now they're where he wants them, and we're
Yes.
moving forward with the story, which is super super nice. Um, this is really kicking a lot off. They end up in the sewers of New Jersey instead of New York, which I'm sure a
I
lot
was
of people
gonna
is going to be
ask,
pissed
how
off
did you
of.
feel about
But
them coming to your home?
I enjoyed it. I think that's fun. Um, but they do a lot in New York still in this issue. Like it's very cool. We get kind of all of the turtles doing their own thing, and Donnie, despite being absolutely off his motherfucking rocker to the point where you have Michelangelo trying to like be the voice of reason for most of this issue, which is a wild role for him that I really, really actually like. I really, really liked what they did with Mikey in this issue. Um, but despite being completely off his rocker, he is kind of the one trying to keep his family together on like an emotional level, which is just a crazy like double-edged
Yeah.
sword thing. The characterization in the series in general, but really in this issue, is so ridiculously good. We don't get much of April, but we get a really
Hmm.
good beat with April when she does pop up for the little
Yeah.
bit. I just liked a lot of what was going on in this issue, and we get a lot of awesome action all throughout there,
So much good
including
action.
Leo in a motherfucking trench coat, which is just awesome. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this issue. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, to speak on the characterization, it's so good. Because I know Leo's your favorite. I copycat. Leo also my favorite. It's because I don't know, he's blue. It's like clearly
He's
he's
the
the Nightwing turtle.
he is
Um,
the as you can
but
see in the Batman TMNT crossover volume 3. Um,
rad.
Casey's only read this volume. You need to read
Agreed.
all of
Yeah,
that.
I'll read the rest of it eventually, I'm sure. But Leo having the characterization of being mad at Raph for running off on his own to try to like solve this himself, with the reaction of like, oh my god, he is going off to do this by himself. What a dumbass! I need to go off and do this by myself. And just like that amazing hypocrisy is such a great like insight into his character in a way that I think that is kind of hard to show. You know, like the character who like needs to be the leader, I feel like it's really easy to show that when they're like kind of stepping over people to like command
Yeah.
people, but like that ego of like I know what's best, so good. And this issue also has the huge boon of Donnie doing a running narration through the entire thing that
Yes.
is looking at the insights on his brothers so well. Like the way that he narrates this. I literally I was in my car reading this on my lunch break and I cried at one point. It was a little deep in, so I won't hit on it here, but it literally it's so emotional, it's so well done. These turtles have so much heart packed into a half shell. It's beautiful.
And also,
And on
what
that,
you've always been asking for. Look at that right there.
yes, I love when the covers of comics actually tell you that it's a good time to jump in. But I also want to give huge, huge, huge props to Juan Ferreira, not
Yeah.
only for his amazing art. I think he does such a good job of taking all of the things that make the turtles distinct outside just like their different colored, bandanas, headbands. What do you call them? Masks?
There
Um,
are masks. For some reason, everybody calls them bandanas, and I think
I
that's
think
just the
it's the flappy bit at the back.
yeah, but they're decidedly masks because they do
Yeah, for
cover
sure, for
the eye.
sure.
But they,
Yeah.
yeah, we tend to call them
But
bandanas.
aside from the
This is not
masks, I
a drawn
think
panel.
he does such a good job with making the turtles like with what they wear, with what their bodies look like. Especially Donnie, they really leaned into like the really emaciated look from Donnie's single issue, and I think that worked so well. And in all of the action scenes, I feel like this isn't normally something that I call to in an action scene. The coloring in those scenes is so cool. Like especially when they're on the kind of like rainy city streets, it's so atmospheric, it's so moody. The way that you can see the light playing in the water is so great. It's absolutely gorgeous. This was such an amazing art issue for TMNT. Absolutely loved it.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
Good issue all around.
And it gets extra points because one of my favorite things with Batman is when like the cops don't like Batman and they have to like fight the cops. The fact that they have the foot as like all of the public servants in New York means that you get such good like kind of the city against the turtles action, and that's like my favorite shit. So I
Yeah.
love that they're leaning so hard into
I
that.
think one of my favorite things Jason has done Sabian is like going like we need the turtles to be back and like have to be in the shadows,
Mhm.
not within society. It's a very nice
Jay says the
return.
turtles belong in the sewers.
Listen, would I love for them to not? Yes, but it is a much better book when they need to be in the series.
Ugh. Yeah, this is such a good start to the new arc, and it does, like you said, really feel like the start of Jason Aaron's Turtles series, and it seems to be shaping up to be something really, really great.
Fully.
How do you feel about the start of a brand new series? Do you think that Jason Aaron has done a good job with bridging the gap from the previous? Or if you're new to the Turtles, do you think that he's done a good job of calling you in with all of this lore? It's a hard balance to strike. I think we've both been pretty happy with it coming from
Yeah.
those two opposite perspectives. But love to hear how you think he's doing with this Turtleverse down below.
Absolutely. But without further ado, it is time for us to recommend a
Yes.
comic book to you guys for this week. This is a tough pick between it.
Oh, I had an easy pick this week. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Throw it out there then. Throw it out
My
there.
pull list rec is going to TMNT number 7. It's so well done. It's gorgeous. It's really. I feel like this is going to be a really iconic run for this team here. Very excited to see what they get up to here, and it's the start of a brand new arc of a pretty much brand new series. So it's such an approachable spot to jump in and just get that turtle goodness going.
I'm going to agree with you here. There is a part of me that wanted to give it to Jumpscare with such a cool new concept and world to jump into, but I think I have to give it to TMNT issue 7 because it's just so phenomenally well done on every level. So yeah, pick up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 7 for all the reasons we just talked about. It's a great book, and I think you're going to enjoy it. But
what else are people going to enjoy, Jay? Oh, we had the same idea.
More of us. So firstly, please hit subscribe, as always, if you want to see more of our stuff. But you can jump right now to our Strange Saturday Super Show episode that went up this past weekend, where we talked about Metal Shark Bro, a demonic shark going against, well, Satan's nephew, actually.
Yeah.
Very, very fun book. But speaking of fun books, Katie, why don't you tell the people what we're going to be reading for next week?
That's right. We are going to be jumping into our next bonus episode is going to be I think, is that what you're asking? Either way, it's what I'll tell
It wasn't,
people.
But you can tell people.
That's fair. I realized I started ramping into the bonus episode and then realized your question. In any case, we're going to be talking about the Absolute Universe this coming weekend, so be sure to check in with us about our Absolute Universe fantasy football rankings. This is going to be the end of our first quote-unquote season of that, because next month, this month technically, The Flash is going to start coming out. Absolute Flash. Super duper
and
exciting.
Green Lantern.
And Green Lantern.
And the third one.
Martian Manhunter? Or
Martian
is he later?
Manhunter. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for all those, but The Flash.
Their marketing of sticking the Flash in every single
it's
DC issue this month has worked for Katie.
It has worked, and I also just love the Flash, so it all works. But Jay, we have books other than the Absolute Universe books that we're going to be reading for our next full Script Heroes episode next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
What are we
you can join us right here as always, but we're going to be talking about Arcbound issue 4, Batgirl issue 5, Hyde Street issue 4, Living Hell issue 4, Two-Face issue 4, and the brand new Mad Cave issue 1 of the series, Blade Forger.
Yes, lots of cool stuff coming up. We hope to see you there.
But yeah, well, that's all we've got for you guys this week. Hope to see you next week. Comic Geeks.